in the city and the city council chambers and remotely. Anybody that requests this link to be present through the Zoom meeting was get it through by emailing the city clerk. And also this meeting is being transmitted live through the Lawrence City Council Facebook page as well as the Lawrence City Council YouTube page. Roll call, Madam Clerk, please.
Councilor Levy. Councilor LaPlante. Councilor Luzon.
Present.
Councilor Del Rosario.
Present.
Councilor Santiago.
Present.
Councilor Marmol.
Present.
Councilor Reyes.
Present.
Council Vice President Infante.
Present.
Council President Rodriguez.
Present. Please join me for a moment of silence. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There is no minute to be approved today, and we're going to proceed with public participation. The rules for public participation are as follows. Everybody that wishes to speak about something related to the city of Lawrence or anything is going to get 2.5 minutes. At the 2-minute mark, you're going to hear a beep indicating that it's still 30 seconds to go. Please refer to the council as a whole, not to any individual councilors. We have 2 people on the list that wishes to speak on public participation today. The first one that we have is H. Malley. Name and address for the record, please.
Humayun Mali, 53 Chester Street. Good evening, honorable members. We, the citizen, thankful of this honorable council and honorable Mayor Brian DePena for making history by granting contract for Lawrence Police Officers Union. Lawrence Police, with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Chief Bonilla, doing excellent job to protect our citizens. We support Lawrence Police Officers Union, Seniors Officers Union. Million thanks to our DPW workers for making Lawrence a beautiful city. We support our DPW union and leadership. Lawrence Inspection Department, thank you for excellent job. We support Inspection Department Union. We must hire more inspectors. Lawrence Public School, with the impeccable leadership of Honorable Graf Guerrero, moving forward. Lawrence Teacher, thank you for excellent job. We support Lawrence Teachers Union. We are grateful to Honorable Richard Rodriguez, ADA Coordinator, to creating a safe environment for our disabled citizens. Please bring food and donation every Wednesday night to Buckley Garage to help our homeless. We demand the best contract for our awesome firefighters with 3% COLA raise and hazard pay. Lawrence always strong, Lawrence always unite. We are one city under God, proud to support Lawrence Police Union. Pray for the safety of all police officers endangering their life every day. Lawrence Police Officer, thank you for working so hard for making Lawrence a safe city. We are united in support of Lawrence Police Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malley. The next person that we have on the list for public participation is Rich Russell. Councilor Russell.
Good evening, councilors. Richard Russell, 34 Cross Street. First, let me wish all of you happy Constitution Day. Constitution was signed 237 years ago in Philadelphia. How many remember having to memorize the preamble that began, "We, the people, in order," in high school? Several issues from various agendas. Tonight you will be addressing agenda item 412/24, extending the 90-day appointment of the police chief for another 90 days. Whether this ordinance is applicable remains to be seen. Ordinance 2.04.081, temporary appointments. No person appointed by the mayor to fill a vacant city office on a temporary or provisional basis pursuant to section 4.4 of the charter shall serve in an acting capacity for more than 90 days. The 90-day period may be extended up to an additional 90 days, with or without the request of the mayor. The acting or provisional police chief was first appointed on 3/22/24 and again on 6/18/24. The last line of the ordinance says, "The 90-day period may be extended by vote of the city council for up to an additional 90 days." Does the wording of the above-mentioned ordinance preclude the possibility of extending his position from being extended again? Being an individual reasonably fluent in the English language, I fail to see where the possibility of a third acting or provisional term is possible. Lastly, after perusing some old LRA, Lawrence Redevelopment Authority agendas, I find mention of the White Fund paintings mentioned in their old business agenda on 7/19/23 meeting. What is their interest in the painting collection that's estimated worth in 2017 of about $20 million? Or did I just ask a really stupid question? I at times find it necessary to ask stupid questions to get answers to stupid actions by governmental agencies. Please do not forget to attend the Day of Remembrance on September 28th from noon until 2 p.m. at the Senior Center. As always, I thank you for the time to address you.
Thank you. All those names are going to be submitted for the record. And now we're going to proceed with the top of the agenda, which is public hearings. Item 13824, authorization to fill the license coordinator positions vacant for more than 6 months. It was brought to us by Peter Blanchett, the acting director of the ISD at that moment. Madam Clerk, please read the notice for the record.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 17th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Council Chambers, 200 Common Street, Lawrence, Mass., pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, and in accordance with the recent revised Rule 2, this meeting will be hybrid, allowing participation both in person and remotely to accommodate any participant with health considerations that prevent them from participating in person. Access codes for remote participation are available from the city clerk, Eileen.Bernal, at cityoflawrence.com or 978-620-3230. Meeting is also available on Facebook and YouTube. The purpose of the hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence, to be further amended by adding the following subparagraph to Section 2.72.070 of the Municipal Code, Licensing Board Administrator. Sub A, position established. There is established in the Department of Public Works in the position of Licensing Board Administrator, who shall be appointed by the mayor and work under the Inspectional Services Director. Responsibilities. The Licensing Board Administrator is responsible for the provision of a wide range of administrative support services in supporting the Licensing Board and the Inspectional Services Department. The employee is required to perform all similar or related duties for the department as needed. Education and experience. The administrator shall hold an associate's degree or high school diploma with a minimum of 3 years office experience is required, or an equivalent combination of education and experience. A bachelor's degree and municipal experience are preferred. Sub D, salary. This shall be a union position. The rate of pay to be determined based upon the union salary classification plan. The Licensing Board Administrator shall be entitled to receive benefits provided to all union employees regularly employed in the administrative services of the city. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak, now is the time. Anybody? Public hearing is now closed. It was a public hearing for item 13824. Thank you. He was assistant. Missed it. Councilors, there is a typo that we noticed. in the typo in the ordinance need to be amended. The vote should be to approve the ordinance with the amendment of section A, and should read to establish an inspection or service department, not the DPW.
I make a motion to amend Section A to read the following: established in Inspectional Services Department, to eliminate the incorrect typo which refers to DPW.
Second.
There's a motion on the table to approve the ordinance with the correct section A, which referred to the inspection of services, not to the DPW. So you're making the motion to approve the item with the amendment?
I make a motion to approve item 138-24 with the.
The amendment of
with
Section
the
A?
amendment of Section A to reflect Inspectional Services Department and not the DPW Department.
Yes, that's the correct motion. That's in order. It's been properly seconded by Councilor Reyes. Councilors, any discussions on this matter? This is to
Council
fill a
President.
position that is over 6 months vacant.
Council President.
Madam Vice President Infante.
Thank you. I would just like a clarification. On our agenda, we have this title listed as Licensing Coordinator. On the public hearing notice, we have it listed, we have it stated as Licensing Board Administrator. Is there a difference, or is that something that we should make sure that it's clarified, or?
I believe it's supposed to be coordinated, but I would prefer to Mr. Ritzman.
We can ask the director to see how it is in the, let's ask the director. The director. Yeah, I see.
Through you, Council President, can I call Director Pat Ruiz to clarify whether this position is supposed to be titled Coordinator or Administrator?
Coordinator.
Coordinator.
Thank you.
So the duties for that position will be similar to,
Yes, so that position, a little bit of history on that position. That position was its own, like, department back before 2014. 2014, when we had the reorganization with ISD and community development, they made that position part of the Inspectional Services Department. So that's a position that's already there. That's a very important position. That position alone, right now, when we do all the licensing for the alcohol and everything, it brings in at least $250,000 in fees and everything like that.
is that similar to the position, the clerk for the licensing
Yes,
board?
it's
the same
the
thing?
exact same position. It's just, it was never ordinance, so we just want to make sure that it's an ordinance position with the job description.
And the
But it's
prop-
always been the same position since 18 years ago.
Councilors, any questions in regard to this? Any questions? All right, I'll call the
Council
call.
President.
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. I would like to amend my motion again to fix
Reflect.
the ordinance typo and replace Licensing Board Administrator to the correct title, which is Licensing Coordinator.
Coordinator, yes. Second.
So you amend your motion, and it was second to amendment. And that's also reflect the change on Section A, and that is under the inspection of services. Councilors, any questions in regard to this? There is no questions. At this point, I'll call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
The next
councilors.
item that we have on the agenda is item, on the public hearing section is item 32324, which is the proposed for new ordinance for manager of financial administrator services. This is gonna be under the DPW, under the DPW departments. Madam Clerk, please read the notice for the record.
I have the wrong. We should be here. What is going? Could
Please
we
read
get
the
a
notice for
motion
that
to waive-
item 22324.
Can we get a motion to waive the preamble?
Can we get a motion to waive the preamble?
So moved.
There's a motion to waive the preamble, properly second discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk?
The purpose of the hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended by substituting the following paragraph, Section 2.64.060 of the Municipal Code, Manager of Financial and Administrative Services. Sub A, position established. There is established in the Department of Public Works the position of Manager of Financial and Administrative Services, who shall be appointed by the mayor. Sub B, duties. The Manager of Financial and Administrative Services shall be responsible for providing the financial and administrative management of the department, performing financial and administrative services for the DPW. Position has overall management responsibility for financial and accounting functions for the department, perform all other related or similar work as required. In the performance of these duties, the Manager of Financial and Administrative Services shall prepare and submit the annual department budget that is funded through the city's general fund, participate in the presentation to city officials, and be accountable to ensure the budget is maintained in accordance with said approvals. Sub C, education and experience. The minimum qualifications for the position of Manager of Financial and Administrative Services shall be a Bachelor's of Arts or Business Administration preferred, and/or 5 to 7 years of professional experience in which major duties include one or more of the following functions: records management, financial administration, budgetary control, accounting, office management, or program management in a municipal environment. Sub D, salary and benefits. Manager of Financial and Administrative Services shall be entitled to receive all benefits provided to union employees regularly employed in the administrative services of the city. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Council, now, public hearing is now open. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Name and address for the record, please.
Unfortunately, few people. I'm still Richard Russell, 34 Cross Street. I'm doing the warm-up back for the attorney. I've lived here since beginning of February of 2001. My question is, how has the city survived for 23 and a half years without creating this position? The second question I have is, how cost-effective is it going to be? And the third question is, I may not be able to hear because of the lousy acoustics. What's the salary range for this going to be? Other than that, those are my concerns. Thank you.
Anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Anybody else? All right, public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what's the motion?
Council President.
Mr. Councilor Rosario.
After the motion.
There is a motion? No, the motion got to be first before we engage. Nobody have made a motion. Any motions, Councilor? No motions?
Make a motion.
All right.
that- For the sake of making this thing move a little faster, I'll make a motion that we approve this document.
There's a
Second.
motion to approve, properly second. Discussion, Councilors?
Discussion.
Councilor Rosario.
Through you, Council President. Is this a new position that we're creating, or are we changing the title on this position?
So, if I may.
You
Jim
may.
Wooten, City Attorney, appearing for Jorge Jaime, the DPW Director, who regrets that he couldn't be here tonight. Just to give you a little, first of all, I want to answer some of the questions I know are going to be asked. This is a union position. It is a grade 26. The salary is between $84,064.24 and $95,280.12. This is actually a position, the person is in a lower position at this point. It's Kathy Valancourt. She is one of the 5 employees of the city who have worked for the city for more than 30 years. She has done this for the DPW. This consists of her doing over 170 different accounts. The purpose of this is to accurately reflect the job she's doing. She's not a clerk. She is a manager. She does managerial jobs. She's not the check writer. She's the one that gathers these contracts. She does your paving contracts. She does your all the contracts at DPW. I happen to know in parking alone, I think she handles that I know of about 80 parking contracts and she's responsible for making sure that they're renewed. So it is clearly a managerial position. How did we get it by without doing? We didn't. This position was done, it just wasn't recognized as managerial. So all we're doing is moving it up. The pay is exactly the same as the manager in the same position does down at community development. So it's not this bonus position or anything like that. It's just pairing apples to apples. So each department would have the same person getting paid the same amount.
Through you, Council President.
Councilor Rosario, you have the floor.
Once again, Attorney, is this a new position or we renaming the title?
It's a new position.
Okay.
It's a new position because it's a managerial position, but it's the same person just moving up in title.
Question that I have then, what is the difference between the process for this position and this position of the grind writer? Because this one only went to ordinance, it did not go to personal, and it just went to ordinance without no questions or none of that. So what is the difference? Why the other position went through the loop to come up here, and this one only went around once, and we already discussing this as a full
Well, as I
council?
say, it's actually the same position, just adding the managerial aspects of it. Like
Again-
the other one, if you're going completely from, a grant writer and a completely different position is totally different. This is the
No, no,
90% of the acts are the same.
And I understand, I have nothing against it, but my
Sure, I
question is, it looks like we're creating a new position just with one loop, and the other one, we're creating a new position, giving the whole loop around. This position did not went to personnel at all. So it only went to the ordinance. And what is the difference? That's what I want to know. Why this position only went to ordinance and did not go to personnel and did the loop around like every other position was there?
I guess that the question will be first within the city council, because those are the process that we follow when we have a new position. So the question will related to the council president perhaps, because I'm the one authorizing items going from one committee to another committee. If we follow the process as we did with the next position that we have, yes, absolutely. It gotta be to personnel. You gotta go to personnel to create the questions that we have in place, which is basically salaries, and also related to the posting of the position. To me, to my understanding, is that this position is a new position, as you mentioned. If it is a new position, then it should go through the process of developing the posting of this position. It's similar to the next position that we're going to be discussing. So with that in mind, with that said, I'm going to open up the opportunity for the discussion at this point, but subsequently, we will proceed with the process that we typically go. So that's the typical process. So any other questions that we might have,
Council President.
including questions in relationship to perhaps discussing the possibility of going to another committee, which is personnel, as is correspondent and in order, we can entertain those discussions as well. So, councilors, we still have the floor open. Councilor Plan.
But just as a quick reminder, it has been the custom of the council when an ordinance such as this or any other creating an ordinance, it goes typically and exclusively to the ordinance committee. We this year have had a little bit of a spin on things with sending some stuff over to the personnel, but that has been counter to our past practice of things. So
Yeah,
I hope that, through you, Mr. President, I hope that helps satisfy.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
council's question.
there's only one thing that is missing on there, that it's been this year. No, that's something that you started as a council president, and I proceed. Yes, it is. We have actually started up when you were the president, sending this stuff over to personnel as well, and we have it on record. I just follow what you did, which I believe is right, because, I mean, those are things that cannot be discussed at that ordinance committee. Instead, it should be discussed at the personal committee. That's something that, no discussion, it's up to the president to do it. You did it, it's fine. If it goes to one committee or two committees, that's the typical process that we have followed. Councilor Rosario.
And through you, Council President, and that's, if we already going that route since years ago, why we skipping a step? So all I wanted is to have the same step if we're doing the same thing over and over, so it'll be uniform. So, I mean, no preference.
It's no special treatment here.
And that's what I don't want to see out there.
There's no special treatment here. I probably missed it when it was in front of me, but it's typically when we're dealing with new positions that we send it to personnel and we send it to ordinance. So that's the typical process. Any other councilors that wish to speak?
Council President?
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. I was here, and getting some of my answers questioned. It's my understanding that this is already, like the city attorney said, it's already a position. It's already a lesser position, whereas the item that's coming after this item is a completely brand-new position that is not at all mentioned in our ordinance, whereas this one is already ordinance to an extent, but we're adding. Does that?
It's also ordinance in another department, so.
And it's also ordinance for another department.
It is a new position. I mean, and we should follow the same process. That's fine. At the end of the day, we just want to have a process that is transparent and clear to everybody. That's what we're pursuing.
I mean, I'm okay with
Yeah,
what we do.
that's fine.
Wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, I understand. It's a new position. I think it is a new position. Should be request what we're requesting for other positions, which is, if it is a new position, it's a new ordinance, it's a new posting, it's a new receiving new applications and everything. The process should be followed. It's a sentence. That's the intent. If the administration, once we put the ordinance in place, decide to do something else, we're not the implementers of the day-to-day operation of the ordinance or the ordinance enforcement. Any other questions in regard to this specific item, councilors? All right, at this point, I will send this item forward to the personnel committee to be reviewed and be formally sent it to us with the proper recommendation, including the fact that we are going to be discussing the posting of the position and the details about the experience, position, so far, so on, the typical things that we do at the personnel committee. At this time, we move forward with item 34724.
Council President,
Sure.
may I address the council for 1 second?
About what item?
It's a different item. It's on, you haven't got to it yet. I'm not here on that item. I'm about to leave.
Okay, just tell me the item.
But I know that you're going to have a legal question on it, so I'm going to give you my legal opinion, then you can bring it up. But
No, let's bring that item because we would like to discuss it with you while you're here.
it's the item 412 of 24 to extend the police chief for 90 days.
All right, we are going to that specific item, which is on the personnel. So we're gonna go to the committee report, the personnel committee, item 41224, which is the extent of the 90 days temporary appointment of the police chief Melix Bonilla. The personnel director has sent this item to us. So, Madam Vice President Infante from the personnel chair, please give us the report.
Thank you. Through you, Council President. Personnel Committee met last week to discuss item 412-24, extend 90-day temporary appointment of Acting Police Chief Felix Bonilla. The committee sends this up as a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Councilor, there is a motion on the table, properly second, discussion. At this point, I would like to open an opportunity to Attorney Newton that is here with us to
Thank you
just
so much.
approach the council on this.
All I wanted to do was address a question that was asked by Mr. Russell, which I figured might come up, so I will answer it. It is the position of the city attorney's office that you may extend this for 90 days. 90 days from now, you may extend it for another 90 days. 90 days from that, you may extend it for 90 days infinitum. That's what's allowed by the ordinance. There is no 90-day maximum. The purpose is to bring it before you. If you choose to see fit to extend it to 90 days, you may do so. There is nothing that says it's 190 days and you're out. So that is the legal position. I just wanted to state, because I figured you might have a question, since he brought it up, and I didn't want to leave without answering your questions.
That's a fair question and a fair answer. Thank you so much. Thank you for addressing that. Councilors, any other questions in regard to this matter? It is important to recognize, councilors, that Chief Bonilla, he sent an email to all of us in regard to the accomplishment of the police department within the time period that he's there and beyond. So if it is any questions regarding to anything related to this appointment, now is the time. Councilor Plant.
Through you, Mr. President, to Acting Chief Bonilla. You're put in a very difficult position having served as acting. It's typically a very challenging, it can be, especially in your department. Can you hear me?
I can't, no.
How about now? Is that better? So you're put in a very challenging position, I think, as an acting police chief, one of the toughest departments in the city, just by its very nature of the city being what it is, to maintain peace and law and order. And then you're serving as an acting. So I think the question that I would have is, we are asking to extend your time here for another 90 days. Are we running up against a time where you're saying, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore?
I'm here to serve the people. If you need me in this position, the mayor wants me there, I'm ready to serve until you find a new leader. I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you.
Councilors, any other questions for Acting Chief Bonilla?
Council President.
Councilor Santiago.
First of all, I want to say thank you for answering my question about from the email do you send me. That's answered my question that I did in personal committee. And just I want to congratulate you. You are doing very good job. I am agree with the process you are doing with the system about the community. You're doing excellent job, and I hope to see you in our neighborhood meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilors, any other questions in regard to this? Before I call the questions, councilors, I would like to ask the director, personnel director, since we are talking about the chief of police, there is this process is taking place for the main reason that of basically the main process, which is the search for the new chief of police. Can you outline the search, perhaps things that you can release for people up there that are asking those questions?
Absolutely, Mr. President. Michael Owens, Personnel Director for the city. And Mr. President, I did, at your request, send you an email with this information earlier this afternoon, just so you have it. The city has launched will be launching a national search for the police chief that will be conducted by a 7-member search committee. That committee will be made up of a mayor's representative, a city council representative that will be at the selection of the city council president. There will be 3 members that will serve as community representatives, and there will be 2 members that will serve as police department representatives. For the community representatives, there was a form, a sign-up form that went out to the community for just over a month. It was circulated on social media, released through a press release. That allowed members of the community that were interested in serving as a community representative on this committee to sign up to be considered for appointment. The deadline for that was this Monday, September 16th. So we now have 27 submissions, but 2 of those were duplicates. So we have 25 total submissions. So we have a pool of 25 members of the community that the mayor will choose 3 to appoint to those community representative seats. I will serve as chair of the committee in a non-voting capacity, except for the case of a tied vote. That would be the typical for an HR director. The committee will be assisted by a recruiting and consulting firm. It's called MGT Consulting. They're a national recruitment consulting firm. They will assist the committee throughout the process in terms of establishing guidelines for screening candidates. They will also assist with the background checks, the extensive background check process, more than the city would have the capacity to do. They will also be setting up an assessment center where the candidates will have to go through practical assessments, and that will give some sort of objective metrics for us to rank these candidates through the process. The next steps would be that the mayor would hopefully in the next couple weeks, now that we have that pool of community representative applicants, the mayor should be appointing the committee, and once Mr. President, once you put forward your appointment, we will then form the committee. The consultant will be visiting the city October 8th to the 11th. The purpose of that visit, they will conduct 12 stakeholder interviews. The purpose of those interviews are to hear from the community, to hear from the police department, to hear from stakeholders about what's important to the community, what the needs of the community are, what the needs of the police department are, what the challenges are, what the opportunities are. And all of that information will help them craft the position announcement, which is essentially the job description. So the information from the stakeholder interviews will go into that position announcement. Once the position announcement goes out, that will be out for a period of, I believe it's 4 to 6 weeks. I just have to double check that, but if I remember correctly, it's 4 to 6 weeks. And that will go out nationally. It'll go, of course, locally throughout the state, and go out nationally to various law enforcement associations, that will produce the pool of applicants, and then at that point the search committee will begin their work of screening those applicants. They will narrow the field down to initially 5 who will go through the assessment process, and then from there they'll narrow it down to 3. Those 3 names, those 3 finalists will be surfaced to the mayor, and the mayor will select one for appointment. So it's quite an involved process. It's not something that will happen overnight. The entire process will be transparent. It will be televised to the extent possible. All the meetings will be public to the extent possible. And what I mean by that, to the extent possible, is that, as the council knows, open meeting law does have some restrictions as to when you're dealing with personnel matters. Some of those personnel matters do have to be held in executive session. So legally they won't be public, but the full committee would be there. And anything that can be public will be public. That's an important part of this process, so that people can be involved and understand and drive this process as much as possible. In terms of community involvement, the committee will be holding, there will be public comment availability, so where people can go online and they can submit comments to the committee for consideration, that they liked what this candidate had to say, or they don't like this, or they like the qualifications of this candidate versus that candidate. There'll be a public comment period. There will also be, we're aiming for 2, depending, the committee can, in its discretion, choose to do more maybe, but at least 2 public forums with these candidates. So the committee has to decide, how to do that and how many candidates we'll have in that process. But we will have public forums where the candidates will be, it would be open to the general public. and the public can come and question these candidates directly and hear from the candidates directly. So the entire process is important to me. I think it's important to the community that this be transparent and that the community drive this as much as possible.
And also it's important to recognize that even though the whole process is going to go through, it's a national search. Once the mayors appoint a position, that name will be sent down to the city council for confirmation. Councilor Rosario.
Thank you, Council President. Through you, Director, how do we end up with this search agency? How do we pick that search agency and where they from? And maybe you can tell us how much it will cost us to do the search.
Great question. Thank you, Councilor. So the search committee was selected through a bid process. The proposal went out to bid. We did. There was a number of bids, a couple bids that were submitted, and this was ultimately selected. This is a national search firm. They're actually out of state, but in my opinion, I thought that they would, a couple things, be most independent and they're most qualified, and they have the largest apparatus to help us with this. Obviously, the needs of the community are unique, and I thought it was really important that we had a firm that really has the capacity to be able to walk us through this process and to tap into channels that we may not have access to normally. National Association of Women Police Chief, National Association of Latino Police Chiefs, etc. This firm has those relationships. They have that experience with those communities. And so I felt that they would be most equipped to help us with this. And they also, even though they're out of state, they do have experience in Massachusetts most recently. And I can submit to the council some examples of some of the things that they submitted. They most recently assisted City of Somerville with their police chief search, and that candidate was just selected and I think sworn in the last couple of weeks. So they do have experience here in Massachusetts, although out of state. Some of these firms, this is it's a interesting spectrum of companies that do this type of work. Some are HR recruiting firms. They're very professional. They have a big apparatus, a lot of resources, and then there's much smaller operations where you may have like a retired police chief, for example, or that type of thing. So they're much smaller outfits. I think there was 3 or 4, and you would have to speak with the purchasing agent to get that information. But there were a couple that I solicited bids from, and some were on the smaller end. This was kind of I think they had the most capacity to help us. So I was involved. The purchasing agent helped get that out to bid. I was involved in the selection of that firm. And to answer your question in terms of price, the initial cost is $20,000, which is standard. That can fluctuate depending on travel and other costs, particularly for candidates. This is a national search. If there is a candidate that would be coming in from out of state, doing multiple interviews, it's often that the employer would facilitate those accommodations and cover the cost to a certain extent. So the cost can fluctuate. Also, that the assessment center is part of that cost. What assessment center is a practical exam where these candidates would go in and they would be given scenarios. How would you handle this? How do you do this? How do you handle an upset community meeting? They give you real world scenarios, and the candidates would have to work their way through those scenarios, and they would be ranked. So I thought the assessment center was an important piece to this process because it scores the candidates objectively to a standard of metrics, objective metrics. So that's part of what we're paying for. We're paying for that assessment center to be conducted as part of the package.
Councilor Rosario.
Through you, Council President, how are we planning to get the community involved? We knew in the past search of the superintendent, the community was not involved at all. I think the advertisement that they used was wrong. The way that they communicate with the community was wrong, and that's why we didn't have that much? What are we doing differently to actually engage the community to come in and be part of this selection?
Absolutely. Thank you, Counselor, if I may, to the President.
Of course.
So that's something that I want to discuss with the committee, definitely, about the committee's ideas on that, how to engage the community. The committee will be made up of people that, live and work and call Lawrence home. So I would leave it to the committee to say what's the best way to engage the community. But some other ways, like I mentioned, the public comment period is really important. So we're going to have this. That'll be like a form that you can share on social media, and it's really, I think, if we share that information widely and we solicit information that way, so through the public comment period. Also, these public forums, I think, will be important. And it's going to be the HR department in the city is going to have to make sure that people know about those public forums. So I would work with the committee about ways to advertise that. And I think, just engaging the council, engaging people, leaders in the community to get this information out, to share with your constituents, invite them to the meetings, that type of thing. I'm going to really rely on the committee members and the leaders of the community to help with that. I think, I have to speak to the council president, the mayor, and some others about how we can get this on local access television, because I want I want as much as possible for the committee to be in the public view, to be accessible online, YouTube, whatever the channels may be, because I think that's a way you engage the community as well. If somebody can't make a meeting, I want them to be able to go back to watch the video and to, maybe watch the video and then submit a comment to the committee about what they thought, so we can make informed decisions.
Thank you, Council President.
Council President?
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. I do want to say to my colleagues that every time we bring up the police search committee at the personnel committee level, I was about to call you Dr. Owens. Director Owens.
No, couldn't help you with that.
Director Owens does provide this information, and everything that he stated to the full council has been discussed at the personnel level, and we appreciate the updates that you have provided at the subcommittee level. I did receive a question, Director Owens, after our personnel meeting, and it was pertaining to how is the HR office going to handle this internally within your office. There was a concern about an employee being a sibling of a high-ranking officer who is doing an excellent job. I appreciate his efforts. He's an amazing officer. But I did receive that question, and I was unsure on how to answer that.
Absolutely. And I would say, since my department, that individual in my office is also doing a great job, and I very much appreciate their efforts. I would be remiss if I didn't point that out. But if I may, Mr. President. So all of the applications will be sent directly to the consultant, and they will be channeled through the consultant. So it would be controlled that way as kind of an independent, and I would have oversight over that as well. I can, I'll be able to provide oversight, audit that process, and ensure that everything's being done the way it should. So that's the way it would be done, and that employee in my office would have no involvement in any of this, even preparation of getting the search committee up, getting this information out. I've made sure that employee is not involved in any way in that, and I'll continue to do so.
Thank you.
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. Through you, Council President. And then just a quick comment pertaining how to get this out to the public. I know one thing that I've seen, LCAT has been, they're Lawrence, I forget their full, but they're the local.
Television Access.
Lawrence
Access Television.
What was it?
Lawrence Access Television.
Lawrence what?
Access Television.
Access Community Television. Television. They attend our neighborhood meetings, and they upload those videos to the website. So if we can't, that might be an option. If, say, we don't have access to our regular personnel that helps us, like and I think this location is a great meeting location. But again, like you said, you need to talk to the mayor and the council president separately, but I just wanted to throw that
No,
out
that's
there.
very helpful. I'll make note of that. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other councilors that wish to speak?
Council President,
Council Luzon?
thank you. To you, Council President. So it looks like that the time frame is, it's, how many months do you said this gonna
Yeah.
last?
Mr. President, if I may, thank you, Councilor. It is going to be an extended period of time. I have to be honest about that. The consultant will visit the city the first week of October. It'll take probably 3 weeks or so for them to develop the position announcement from that point. So, that's that's probably 4 to 5 weeks from now. The position that will then be posted for, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks. So we're looking at probably the new year before we are in a position where we have finalists or potentially a chief. Hopefully we can have a new chief by the end of the year, but realistically that's the timeline. I would love for this to go faster than that, but in my personal and professional opinion, I think it's better to do this the right way. Because if we do it the right way, we're gonna have a better candidate, we're gonna have a better chief, and we're gonna have somebody that's committed, I think, to the community for the long haul. We really do have to be diligent and take our time.
Oh, thank you, Director.
Council Luzon?
And I mentioned this a few days ago that we are looking to have a permanent leadership at the police department as a community, understanding that Chief Bonilla has been doing a great job and always available for me and other councilors. But it's urgent that that the police department get a permanent leadership as soon as possible. I know the time frame, and as a councilor, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I hope that I mentioned this in the meeting that we had today. Thank you for having your door open for questions always. That this committee serves with integrity and honesty, not only to the mayor, also to the community that is expecting a permanent leadership at the police department. And thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Councilor. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other councilors that wish to speak? In the meantime, let's not forget that we are dealing with that with the personal committee report, item 41224, which is extending the 90 days period, the temporary appointment terms for the police chief, acting police chief Melix Bonilla. Any other questions in regarding to this item? At this time, councilors, I'll call the questions for the item 41224. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Chief Bonilla. Your period have been extended. Now we're going back to the top of the agenda, which is item 34724, which is the amendment non-union classification plan, director of the project management and development. It was put together by Octavian Spanner, the senior advisor of the mayor, Brian De Peña.
Mr. President.
Madam Clerk, please read the notice.
Would you find it to be in order that we give the committee report before we order the public hearing on this?
It was not, but it was something that it was needed.
It's up to you. No, we have a committee report tonight on this matter. Would it be in order to give them before you give this, before?
Yeah,
It's up to you.
I think it will be in order, of course. We have sent this item to the ordinance committee, and this item is 34724. So, Mr. Chair of the ordinance committee, please provide us with the report for this item out of the ordinance committee.
This is on document number 34724. The ordinance committee met on this item and sent this up to the full council to amend the non-union classification plan for the director of project management and development send this up to the full council with a favorable recommendation, and that's the motion.
That's the motion. It's been properly second. Before we do that, councilors, let's entertain this is a committee report? Or that was the
The committee voted in favorable recommendation.
okay, so, let's read the notice for the public hearing. And then
I can
we
withdraw
entertain a
that
motion.
right now. I just think it's important that the councilors know that the committee met on this
Yeah.
matter, and that was the report. Now that the councilors know, I think I'm willing to go ahead and withdraw this item, or table it, whatever you think is in order to move on the public hearing.
Yeah, let's move on the public hearing. We, thank you. We appreciate the work that that the ordinance committee have done when it comes to analyzing this ordinance and present it to us. So at this point, Madam Clerk, please read the notice for the public hearing.
This is document 347-24. The purpose of the hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence, to be further amended by replacing Section 2.70.280 of the Municipal Code grant writer in its entirety with the following. 2.70.280, Director of Project Management and Development. Sub A, position established. There is hereby established the position of the Director of Project Management and Development, DPMD, playing a critical role in the Office of Planning and Development, OPD, and responsible for leading the development strategy and managing the entire project lifecycle from initial concept to completion. This position replaces the position of grant writer and reports directly to the Director of Planning and Development. The Director oversees project resources, develops and executes project plans, and ensures project success by working on proposals, managing budgets, and negotiating with stakeholders. This position also leads the project management team from various city departments, sets strategic directions, manages risks, and ensures project milestones are met while fostering team cohesiveness for optimal performance. Sub B, responsibilities. The Director of Project Management and Development oversees all grant activities, delivery and reporting requirements across numerous city departments. This includes managing coordinators, ensuring compliance with all agency requirements, and fostering cross-department collaboration. The Director will also implement a project management centralized system to streamline the grant application and reporting process, including responsible for serving as the project manager on all grant projects awarded to the city and/or assigned by the mayor, ensuring project management updates and support, internally collaborating with cross-functional leaders, department heads, and their appointed grant coordinators, externally cultivating and maintaining strong connections with state, federal, and other public agencies, identifying needs and assist in securing grants in conjunction with the lead coordinators of each city department to support project initiatives, fostering financial sustainability and growth. Direct resources to allocate the project development process, reviewing and supervising project proposed initiated by different departments, lead and supervise the work of the grant coordinators, consultants, and project teams in executing grant initiatives successfully, ensuring alignment with organizational goals and timelines, cultivating relationships with stakeholders, including investors and community partners, to garner support and resources for projects related to the LRA, citywide redevelopment, providing leadership and guidance in project management methodologies, ensuring best practices are followed throughout project life cycles, and monitoring project progress, evaluating outcomes, and making strategic adjustments as necessary to optimize results. There's more. Sub C, education and experience, bachelor's degree in management, public administration, or social sciences or related field, focusing on project management, public administration, or a related discipline. Proven track record in grant writing, project management, and stakeholder engagement. Experience in managing grant-funded projects and ensuring compliance with grantor requirements. Strong leadership, communication, and presentation skills. Ability to foster collaboration among diverse stakeholders and teams. Proactive problem solver with a commitment to driving results and delivering impactful outcomes. Knowledge of project management processes, tools, and best practices, and familiarity with relevant state and federal regulations of development-related projects. Sub D, salary and benefits. The Director of the Project Management and Development shall be classified as a non-union employee grade level C within the Office of Planning and Development, and shall be entitled to receive all benefits provided to non-union employees regularly employed in the administrative services of the city. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak? By all means. Name and address for the record, please.
Sure, Kelly Sinazuski, 47 Hamlet Street. When you're reading that,
Your mic, yes.
when you say grade C or level this or level that, I think it's important that the public knows the range of the pay, instead of just saying grade C or 26. I think it's important for us to know that.
We'll clarify that. Anybody else from the public that wishes to speak? All right, public hearing is now closed. Just to clarify from that, the max salary for that position will be $125,600, I believe. Yeah, that's correct.
Mr. President, Michael Owens, Personnel Director for the city. Grade C in the non-union classification plan would be a salary range of $81,900 to $124,800.
That's correct. I hope that's clear. Between 81,000 to 124,000. That's the grade C. All right. Councilors, at this point, this public hearing is now together with the report that was done by the ordinance committee, and I'm going to entertain any motion.
Motion to approve?
Discussion.
There is a motion to approve, properly second. It's in order. Discussion, Council Vice President Infante.
Thank you. Through you, Council President, I would like to ask the chair of the ordinance committee a question regarding their discussion. Last time we spoke about this position and this ordinance at the full council level, there were questions regarding section B, bullet 7, cultivating relationships with stakeholders, including investors and community partners, to garner support and resources for projects related to the LRA citywide city redevelopment. Was this particular issue discussed at the ordinance committee level, and if so, what was the discussion?
So it was brought up, and I think the result of the conversation was a brief conversation, was that we were going to, whoever was interested, namely, I'm interested in this, would be offering an amendment potentially tonight to strike that, rather than doing it at the ordinance committee level.
Council President, I would
Councilor
like,
Vice President
I would
Infante.
like to file an amendment to the motion to strike, to eliminate that section, that bullet from section B, which states cultivating, which,
Section B completely, or just
No, no,
a
it's-
portion of section B?
Just this bullet number 7.
section B, bullet 7. Actually, let me rephrase that, because it is important to, this person, all city employees cultivate relationships with stakeholders. My particular issue is the direct statement of this position being, helping the LRA when it's a independent board. So I would like to strike out from this, garner support and resources for projects related to the LRA citywide city redevelopment.
Second.
There's a motion on the table for the amendment, as discussed previously. Discussion on the amendment only. Is that a motion individually, or that a friendly amendment to the undertake amendment?
It was gonna, a
That's
friendly amendment.
It's a friendly amendment, so will you accept the friendly
And I
amendment?
will accept the friendly amendment.
All right, and there is a friendly amendment, that's been accepted. So just to clarify from the amendment, very quick, is that employee going to be able to do anything related to the LRA, as other employees have done 25% of their time? Or this is something that, because striking it and not necessarily clarifying what's the involvement of this person, it will be, if we just leave it as is, any other employee may be able to do 25% of their time as they previously stated. Is that striking all the potential involvement with the LRA? Or that's something that it was just mentioned as you mentioned it? I mean, I just want to clarify the amendment. So essentially, if you just strike the portion of the LRA as it mentioned on there, that doesn't take away the fact that that position will be involved with the LRA still.
I understand.
So
your
you
question,
mean
Council President.
that this position cannot be involved with the LRA, or just striking out the language that it was there?
So essentially, Council President, from my understanding, I mean, this is the Office of Plan and Development. So regardless, there is, I can see naturally there is some portion of work or conversations within stakeholders of other committees and all of that. What this is not clarifying is that outside of what is required to get a job done, or bring information to us and the mayor and et cetera, I don't want this position to do more than what they're supposed to do for the LRA. That makes sense.
Okay, all right.
Council President, question.
Wait,
Hold on. Let's clarify this.
Yeah,
Is that clear? Let's go one at a time.
Because it just says, so I mean, we can add, naturally, I can see the 20%, 25, whatever, and naturally, as city business, I can see that. However, this just says all city, that's how I'm reading it, at least, citywide redevelopment, LRA, that's how I'm seeing it.
That's essentially 100% of the time. That's what it
Which
says.
is 100, exactly, and that is not what this is supposed to be.
I mean, to be honest with you, it should be 0. But I mean, that's my point. That's my view.
So I think, Council President, through you.
Let's get the
I
director
have one more
first.
comment.
Yeah, of
I
course.
believe the first part of this, of the 7th bullet under section B, cultivating relationship with stakeholders, including investors and community partners, that covers the business conversations that this position will be required to have, not just with the LRA, but with the city council, with the mayor's office, with planning and development, the HR department, whatever the thing is, whichever the conversation may require. It's just the second part that for me, there is no need to single out the LRA unless they're planning to have this position work with them more than what they're supposed to be doing.
And that's essentially what is happening today. We just want to be blind about it. We can be blind about it. But this position is currently working for the LRA more than the city and more than the 25%. If we don't say it as is, we're going to continue doing it and expecting different result, which is crazy. But anyway, that's how I see it. Councilors, any other questions? Councilor LaPlante. Councilor Luzon, sorry.
Thank you, Council President. It's just, and thank you for the question, Vice President Infante. It looks like that the administration, it keeps sending us new positions. Some of the words that I keep seeing is revise, the ordinance, amend, and replace. But it's basically raising salaries and not putting in the line. And I know the person that is doing the job is a great grant writer, but the administration may keep sending to us new positions, basically to raise salaries. So it's concerning. Besides the point that the Madam Chair, Vice President Infante mentioned about the involvement with the LRA. One of the things that they mentioned, I think was a senior advisor, that some of the grant writers, they get overwhelmed with work. And some of the jobs don't have the same attention than others. So having this person involved with the LRA is going to bring the same situation, an overwhelmed employee doing more work than it is supposed to be. So I just want my colleagues to pay attention to those terms that I mentioned at the beginning. Revise ordinance, amend and replace is equal to salary raise.
Councilor Plan.
Thank you, Council President. So I have a question regarding the amendment. Can the clerk please read the amendment as it was amended by Councilor Del Rosario, please?
The amendment that we received was in subsection B, bullet point 7, to eliminate the second half of that bullet, beginning with the words, quote, "to garner support and resources for the project." From that going forward would be eliminated, and the first half of the bullet would remain. That's the friendly amendment.
So the amendment, the language for that clause would stop at the word projects.
Don't have the word before it, I apologize. But yeah, that sounds right. Cultivating relationships with stakeholders, including investors and community partners, ends with the word partners.
Stops at the word partners?
No, to gather support and resource for projects. That's when it stopped.
So where do you, what the counselor said was cultivating relationships with stakeholders, including investors and community partners, period. And if you wanted to say to garner support and resources for projects, that would be different, but that's not what she said.
I just want to know what the amendment is. All right, so that's, thank you for the clarification. So 2 points. I don't know, I think it's important, just like one of our residents spoke out on some of the keywords that we use. I'm a little unclear what the reference of 25% is, so I'll ask that in a second, number one. And then number two, there's 3 things. Number 2 is I think that we really, and I agree with the counselors who are saying this. I agree with the counselors who are saying that there needs to be a bright line between what the city is doing, what the LRA is, and clearly there are some mutual goals because we all want to see the city succeed, but there's a reason why the board is independent from the city council.
Yep.
So I agree with that. The third point is I also think there's tremendous utility and advantage to this ordinance. What this, as it's described to me and as I read the position, what it's entitled to do is it's really trying to make sure that there is someone watching the grants that are being written in the city to make sure that deadlines are not missed, that applications are being properly adhered to, and that the functions of the reporting requirements are also met. And in a city like Lawrence that relies so much and is so heavily dependent on federal and state aid, I think it's absolutely critical that we have someone who's at the wheel of this, because right now it is split into various different departments. What I was happy to hear of the ordinance committee was that we will still have the subject matter expertise at each of the departments that are asking or initiating the grants so that they know what they're looking for, but we have someone at the helm who's overlooking it to make sure that these things are being facilitated in a timely manner. So I think there's utility, and if it works like that, that's a good thing. So I'm going to be supporting this, but I just, can someone explain to me this 25% situation and why this is, why are we even talking about it?
Well, according to Councilor Plan, according to a statement from the senior advisor to the mayor, Tavian Spanner, on our previous meeting, he mentioned, oh, he's here. It's like it's no vision between here and the last session. He said that some of the employees of the city spend 25% of their time working for the LRA, and he mentioned a couple of positions that are under that matters. If we looking at the 35 hours week that we have, 25% will be one fourth of that time, which is what, about 8 hours, something like that.
8 hours, yeah.
But by all means, Octavian Spanner, the senior advisor to the mayor, you can clarify on that.
Yes, good evening, Council President, City Councilors. Just to give a response, the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority has its own consultant that is working on funding for the agency. And all submittals have been done through the consultant. Obviously, in the beginning, as I mentioned, and when we spoken first with the mayor, as well as the then HR director, we wanted to make sure, as a legal process, that we had documented that, first of all, we're not double dipping, okay, that the time that is expended by city employees, not only through this position, but other positions as well, like the director of economic development, in some cases would have been the director of community development planning, as well as the purchasing department. It was documented, we submitted to the HR department to make sure that, you know, it's not all the entire time that city employees are invested in the LRA. What I would like to clarify is that initially, all redevelopment authorities or quasi-public agencies, when they're established, there's some portion of time that is dedicated, but once the organization or the agency is, you know, really hiring their own consultants, that amount of hours is going to be diminished substantially. Obviously, we need information from city employees. We share data on a consistent basis. If there's, for instance, a traffic study that has been conducted and paid through the redevelopment authority, that is shared with the city, as well as some information from the city, whatever their employees have worked on, is shared with the redevelopment authority or any other entity that we have. And also our community partners. It's not only information that the city produces. Sometimes you have other nonprofit organizations, in particular, state agencies, federal agencies, that we need information, and it's shared. So I hope that clarifies. This is not something that we are constantly going to depend on city employees for this. This was just the initial stages of bringing the organization up to speed. But if we're advocating for the same city, right? And remember, the LRA is a quasi-public entity. It's an arm of the city. And I think you, Councilor, have been also part of it in the past. So you do know that basically what are the functions and what are the boundaries. I hope I clarified most of the information.
How much time?
But I think the suggestion by striking the LRA out of it is perfect. There's no problem with that.
How much time you spent out of your time as a director of the LRA? And
almost the same hours, 25% of time. Yeah. And I work sometimes 14, 15 hours a day. I mean, if you, right, so, thank you.
Councilors, any questions in regard to this position, the amendments, the friendly amendment that was presented, or anything else related to this specific change? To the Councilor Levy?
Thank you, Council President. I know that the Director of Personnel wants to say someone regarding, I would like to hear what I think.
You have anything that you would like to add?
Mr. President, thank you. Michael Owens, Personnel Director for the city. Thank you, Councilor. I was just going to clarify that question related to the 25%, but I think it's been answered. But there was a decision by the city attorney and the prior HR director and Mr. Spanner potentially. He'd be best to answer that. But they came to the conclusion that city employees could dedicate 25% of their time. on LRA matters. So but in terms of the amendment before the council, I think that, striking the language of the LRA language would be appropriate, and if they're a city employee handling development matters for the city, naturally there is going to be some kind of involvement with the LRA, but their focus is on the city's interest in those matters. So I think it would be appropriate to strike that language if that's the will of the council.
So, quick question on the LRA and the differentiation. When the city employees are using their time, the 25% of their time working for the LRA, do you have a special code that they can build in? And who is actually covering for that 25%?
That's a great question. I don't believe there is a specific code, and I don't know. I think it would be up to those employees to track their time accordingly, but we should absolutely look into that. This is an issue that we have generally in the personnel and payroll departments in the city that I need to address. We don't do a good job with tracking time, for example, with individuals that are on leave, on FMLA leave, on intermittent leave. There's currently no real tracking system in the city for that, so I'm working on technology that would track that, would deal with that. But right now it's really an honor system. So if you're, let's say, FMLA leave, if you're on FMLA leave on an intermittent basis, you're allowed 12 weeks, you take that on an intermittent basis. Let's say you've taken 2 weeks here, and then in 4 weeks you take another 2 weeks. We're using the honor system at this point for the employee to accurately enter that into their timesheet. I do plan to address that, like I said, through some policy and some technology that we're looking at now. But that same type of system could be used to track the LRA time. I do think, as I mentioned before, I think we can have a conversation about best uses of city personnel resources and what would be appropriate in terms of their interplay with the LRA. But that was what was decided previously. And my understanding and this is not my territory, this is a city attorney, but my understanding of the redevelopment statute in Massachusetts is it does allow the city to share some of its resources in terms of personnel, in terms of other resources, IT, building, office space, those types of things. So I think that's where that decision was probably born out of, is that the redevelopment statute allows for it. So I think, and I don't want to speak for the city attorney or the HR director that was here at the time, but I could understand that an interpretation of that statute would allow a certain percentage of personnel time to be spent on LRA matters.
Do you mind looking into that and send us some type of a memorandum that clarify that? Very quick?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilors, any other questions related to this item? Councilor District D?
Who put this language together?
For the ordinance?
Yes,
That would be the city attorney's office.
the city attorney. And the follow-up question is, because language is very important, I am trying to understand the intention behind adding that second part that we are making an amendment to remove. So when this language was being put together for this position, was it in the intention of the city for this position to have a higher capacity in terms of the interaction that they currently have with the LRA with this new position? I don't know if that makes any sense, what I just asked.
Yeah, Mr. President, if I may, Councilor, so you're asking, just so I have it right, was it the intention of the city that this person would have a lot of capacity to kind of deal with LRA matters or interact with LRA? With that, I would probably want Mr. Spander to answer that, because he would know a little bit better. But I would think so, because this position deals not only with grants, but also redevelopment projects in the city, and it would fall under the Office of Planning and Development. So I think, and there is some interaction between grants in that process as well. So I think the idea was to kind of have this position be broad in what it can address, so that it can capture a lot of things that the planning, the OPD department, the Office of Planning and Development, would be working on which also would have some crossover with the LRA. I don't know if that answers your question, but maybe Mr. Spanner can answer a little bit. Yeah, okay.
It is important to recognize that the senior advisor to the mayor is also the director of the Lawrence Redevelopment Authority for the city of Lawrence.
Right. Through you, Council President, and to Councilor Marmol, the first of all and foremost is we identified there are certain gaps, let's call it that way, in terms of funding that are requested, the way they are managed, the way the reporting are done, and the time frame. That is one. As I mentioned before, and I think I did it during the committee, I also did it in open forum through this body. I explained that what we're trying to achieve through the mayor's direction was that, you know, if I'm asking what funding do you have in each one of the department, I want that information to be provided. There has been, or there were instances that the city's funding were rather at risk, or we lost funding. And that is not good. I mean, we're advocating, you're here, we're presenting before you through staff different grants that we're asking you to approve, and then there's no follow-up in terms of, you know, when are these projects going to be started, and when are they going to be implemented, and how are they reported? Because that's very important. And we found out that the mayor's office had to basically find out, sometimes requesting several information. Initially, when this administration came on board, there were certain contracts that we didn't have. They were hitting in some drawer. A person gets sick, we didn't have the information, and then unfortunately, there was no follow-through. With the case with certain funds that were lost through the police department, where there was a grant, it became an issue. That was the tip. So the mayor said, you know, listen, I want a focal point, a person that I can go to, and first of all would be the individual that all grants within the city, let's say we have 9 departments, 10 departments, we have the library as I would call it enterprise, but a private entity. We have the cemetery as well. All these other departments, for lack of a better word, or agencies, are requesting for funding. So how do we know what is the priority within the city? As you know, both the mayor as well as the city council, both of the branches have a responsibility and accountability for funding. But if you ask, if you ask for, you know, what are all the grants that we have requested? How many funding have we requested? Which have been executed? Which are still pending? Because sometimes you have funds that are given to the city. You allocate it through what specific department, and we don't know the answer until we call, the situation comes up, or there's a reporting. So to avoid all those mishaps, let's call it that, the intent of the mayor is to make sure that we have a person that is basically the coordinator, because you do need project management when you receive any funding. So you're not only receiving the money, but you also know what's the status and in what stage of implementation it is. Second of all, actually, based on what you said, the city is growing. We're looking for funding for development. We need to know that we're not working, we're working in a coordinated way, that whatever the city is requesting, and let's say any other agency, including the redevelopment authority that is requesting for funding, that they are consistent, and then we are not competing with each other. So meaning, if the city, we find out that the city, through the directive of the mayor and with the approval of the city council, says that, let's say, X project is a priority, then we should know that, for instance, one agency that is a arm of the city, is not competing with the Department of OPD. Because state agencies and federal agencies are not going to fund two projects at the same time. But if the city is going to apply for one funding A, then let's say the redevelopment authority can apply for funding B and still be advantageous to the city. I hope I answered your question.
Councilors, any questions?
I'm gonna re-ask my question.
Okay.
Was the intention for this position is for this individual to work at a larger capacity with the LRA than
No.
what they currently work
No,
now?
as a matter of fact, that would be against the law. So that's the reason why, and I'm happy that the council president requested for the information through a memo. I think through the city attorney or HR department, that would be provided, because that's the same question that we requested. You cannot go beyond 25% of time.
Councilor Mamo, done? Councilor Rosario?
Thank you. And can we bring the grant writer up and maybe ask him
No,
some
because
questions?
we're dealing with a position, not necessarily
No?
a person.
Okay.
So this is a position that we're creating, not a person that we're going to be
Okay.
dealing with.
Thank you.
No problem.
Council President?
Councilor Vice President Infante?
Thank you. I have a question through you for Director Owens. Section A of the Director of Project and Management Development states that this position is going to report directly to the Director of Planning and Development. I know our previous Planning and Development Director moved on to a new opportunity. What is the status of that? Do we have someone in an acting role right now? How does that look like? Because we haven't received any info.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilor, if I may, Mr. President, just for the record, again, Michael Owens, Personnel Director. I spoke to the mayor about that position today. I think there's going to be some movement on that position, getting it posted, or at least appointing somebody in an acting capacity for now. So it is a concern. We just haven't got into it yet.
So I know that it needs to be officially, someone needs to be officially appointing as acting, but there is an individual currently within the department right now assuming those responsibilities until the administration and yourself move this along?
Yeah, it would, much of that work is kind of spread throughout the department. I know that
Thank you.
community
That's-
development has been helping a lot, and in terms of planning projects, Mr. McCarthy has been assisting on a lot of that as well, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And just to clarify one more thing here, on the memo, Director Owens, on the memo that it was sent to us, it says that under the Brian De Peña, the directive, we are instituting the change on the title and the job description and salary classification for the grant writer within the Office of the Planning and Development. Due to the budgetary constraints, the city aggressively pursuing funding to address financial gap across the departments. That the redefined title of the Director of Project Management and Development will now oversee all aspects of funds developments to ensure proactive pursuance of fundings and deliverance of the project in a timely matters. So meaning that this position will be now overseeing all aspects of fund that the city might get through a grant. So how that's going to interact with other project personnel that are taking those projects through from the beginning to end, and now this person, which is not going to be the director of that of the Office of Planning and Developments, going to have more like oversee or power over those projects. How that's going to work? I mean, it's like it looked like an overseeing. I mean, it looked like an overlapping of duties. In some positions, especially within that department.
Mr. President, I think that, so are you asking about the work that's ongoing in other departments and how this person would kind of?
Yes, because it's gonna oversee all aspect of funds. So meaning that once we get a grant, first of all, it's gonna go through this position and then potential assignments to funds as of how they're gonna spend it. So that's like, I'm not quite clear.
Yeah, well, I think that Mr. Spanner would be able to answer that best, since he was involved in crafting the position, and how the current grant writer, I think, would maybe have some insight into how they'll actually do it on a day-to-day operational sense. But I do know that they would be, their individuals would be in their respective departments that would be pursuing grants, and this person would kind of, this position would oversee that. How they do that, I don't know if that's, through, I assume meetings, emails, follow-up, tracking. They would maybe have some spreadsheets that they would maintain for each department. They would probably plug those dates into a calendar, or however they organize themselves to track that. But they would be making sure that all the particulars, they would be assisting those departmental level people to make sure that the targets are met for those grant applications in terms of what's necessary, the materials, those things, and also tracking those deadlines. But if you're asking how they'll actually go about that to make sure that those things happen, they'd probably be best to answer that question, because they're the ones that are going to have to set this up in terms of their, how they'll actually do the job.
Let's hear him out.
Council President, I think the HR director responded part of it. I would like to give it as an example. We have 9 departments, A, B, C, D, E, F, etc. You have a department, let's say HHS, that's managing receive funds. You approved it, they come before you. The grant has been accepted. The grant needs to come before you, like be shown to the mayor. What is the plan with that money? Now it comes before you. You don't have a day that it starts and a day that it ends. So, and that's an important piece for even with when you have your budget hearings. If you have a department should know in advance when that funds, once that funds are received, basically in X amount of months it will be completed. Obviously, we don't know specifically when a state agency or a federal agency would release the funding. But at least what we should know is once the funds are released, when these projects are executed. It could be with the police department. The new police department, there are challenges, but at least someone would be able to follow up together with the director in having a timeline with it. It could be what we had recently with the EAPS program. Who was in charge? Why wasn't the project executed? And if it's not executed, it's part of development in the city. And we have a misunderstanding, and not only the city of Lawrence, but sometimes in other municipalities where I work. Any construction project, any capacity building project in the city has to do with development. One is building, construction, but the other part is competency building. And what is it that we do with the funding? Who are going to be our stakeholders that we are going to work with? And right now we are working with a grant. We're meeting, we have how many weeks meeting? Like 4 weeks, 3 weeks already meeting with nonprofit organizations concerning, what's the name of the grant? Community Change Grant. It's not only the city involved, but we're partnering also with our community partners to see if we can work jointly and what is our responsibility and what are the responsibility of our community partners. So we do need the person that is coordinating and doing the job. And so I can mention other departments that have received funds or will be receiving funds and how are they executed.
Is this going to be just for the execution, or this position going to be able to direct funds to other projects that are not necessarily within the original scope?
No, these are just grant related. those that are funds that we are receiving from specific grants. This is nothing, for instance, whatever the approval of funding through our operating budget, but specifically on grants that are received.
Yeah, and grant related, that's what
Yes.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Any other questions, councilors? Any other questions?
I don't have any question, but I'm gonna make a comment that I will prefer to leave it at bullet number 7 as it is, instead of changing the language.
All right, point well taken. Councilors, any other questions? At this time, I call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Roll call, please.
Question is regarding, Council President.
Roll call.
Council President.
Councilor.
You say that it was a comment, not a question.
Can we do it again?
No. You, so we gonna approve it as it is, or we gonna approve it?
No, it
removing?
wasn't a friendly amendment that it was accepted by Councilor de Rosario, and it was accepted, it was second.
There's a motion to approve the document as amended.
As amendment.
Yep. So Councilor Reyes.
Yes.
Councilor Marmal.
Yes.
Councilor Santiago.
No.
Councilor Del Rosario.
Yes.
Councilor Luzon. No. Councilor LaPlante.
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
Yes.
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Yes.
Council President.
The board present.
Motion carries. You have enough votes.
What's the count?
6 in favor, 2 noes, and 1 present.
All right, motion carries. Now moving forward with the top of the agenda, committee report. With committee reports, we go into the Budget and Finance Committee. Madam Vice President and the Chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, Councilor Infante.
Thank you.
Item 41324.
Thank you, Council President. Through you, the first item from the Budget and Finance Committee, item 413-24, authorization to expend $1 million from the EPA multi-purpose grant funds, was sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
¿Qué gente?
Council President,
Councilor LaPlante.
I'd like to recuse myself from this matter for potential conflict of interest.
Yep, the Councilor LaPlante has recused himself due to a potential conflict of interest. So it was, we have a motion on the table. I wasn't able to get a second. Second by Councilor Reyes. Discussion, Councilors?
Discussion.
Councilor de Rosario?
Thank you. Through you, Council President. I don't know if McCarthy will be able to answer this, but after we not approving the loan and the grant last time, will be able to use this $1 million from the EPA?
Yes. Other projects.
So the loan and grant cases we were talking about is a different document. This is a different grant. This is the $1 million area-wide multi-purpose grant that we recently received. My understanding is right now that the matter with the other document was received a negative vote, and we were hoping to possibly get a reconsideration this evening. That's why, part of the reason I'm here tonight. But the case that's before us right now is the area-wide grant.
I understand.
Council
Councilor
President.
de Rosario? Councilor de Rosario, the previous item, this grant is a multi-purpose grant. It could be used for other projects, not necessarily just for this specific location.
Yes.
It could be multiple projects.
Yes. This is an area-wide grant. It can be used anywhere in the city.
Yeah.
It can be used for a variety of purposes. It can be used for testing. It can be used for analysis of properties. It can be used for creating plans to clean up property, and it can be used for cleanup as well. So it's a variety of uses, and it's not specific to any one site. We've had more than a dozen grants over the last 10 years, and they've always been site-specific grants. The money's tied to one property. This $1 million can be used anywhere in the city. So it's It's a great tool. It took a long time for the city to get an area-wide grant. We've applied for it before, and this is the first one we've been able to ascertain, so it's good news for the city.
Thank you, Council President. Any other questions, councilors, in regard to this item 41324, which is the authorization to spend $1 million EPA multipurpose grant? Any questions, councilors?
Council
Councilor
President,
Luzon?
and I'm going to ask, I think I asked the same question. So you mentioned that this money it's not going to be specific to, so you mentioned 3 projects.
I didn't mention, I think our LSP mentioned 3 projects.
Yeah,
That we
yes, I'm
cited when
sorry.
we did our application, but there's more than a half a dozen brownfields in the city that are identified by EPA that we could use on any one of those.
Yeah, but I think he mentioned, and maybe you were there, the front writer was there.
The 3 he mentioned
yeah.
were I believe, the
So
Betty.
if we
Easy,
approve
Councilor.
through you, Council President, if we approve this project, it doesn't gonna go to a specific one. It can be either or. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a multi-purpose grant that could be used for multiple projects.
Thank you, Council President.
Any other questions in regarding to this $1 million multi-purpose grant? I hear none. At this point, I call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on. Budget and Finance, item 41424.
Council President, item 414-24 is the authorization to expend $664,000 for the lead service line inventories and replacement replacement plan grants, and this was sent up with a favorable recommendation. I make that as a formal motion.
Motion on the table, properly second discussions.
Council
Councilors?
President,
Councilor Plan?
I could recuse myself from this matter, please, for
Sure.
potential conflict of interest.
Thank you, Councilor Plan. It's being noticed on the record. Anybody from the administration that wishes to speak on this?
Good evening, Councilor. My name is Jose Medina, and I'm here in representation of the Lawrence Water Department on behalf of the Water and Sewer Commissioner, William Hale. Yeah, and I'm just here to request your permission to use the grant for this purpose that you Councilor just mentioned.
Councilors, any questions? I probably remember a little bit about this. Back in 2016, we have about 100 and something lead lines that we have in the city of Lawrence. Is that related to the lead services that we have back then, and we still have like a few? Or this is something else?
Actually, yes, Council President. The Water Department have been working, removing all the lead services all throughout the water distribution system. And we are, 90% completed. Now the DEP is requesting that we do an inventory, to replace the plant and have everything in record, just in case they request the record to be seen.
Okay. Councilors, any questions related to that? All right. There is no question, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Now we go on to item 41524, the authorization to spend $1,601,840 for the
Item
water
4
resilience grant.
Item
Madam Vice Chair.
415-24, the authorization to expend $1,601,840 from the MVP Stormwater Resilience Grant was sent up with a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Thank-
And then you make it as a formal motion, and then you have a question. Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. It's not a question, it's a comment. We did ask the Water Department to submit a plan or to let us know more information about this grant, which was provided to every counselor here. And I just want an opportunity for us to go over this and if we have any questions.
If
on
the
it.
council have any questions in regarding to this, we can go over. If it's not, we can move forward. Any questions, councilors, in regard to the information that you guys received? All right, if there's no questions, at this point, I call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Now
Council
we're going,
President.
Councilor De Rosario, I would like to attend a few items, old business.
Thank you, through you, Council President. I'm gonna go to old business if that's okay. In courtesy of those employees, it's a long day. I would like to take out of order item 15824, if there's not objections.
Yes, we are going to old business, and that's 15824, which is appropriation transfer for the amount of $29,275 from the retaining revenues funds for the account of 3990 to the to April repairs and maintenance for the payments of previous year's invoice, as mentioned there. These items, Councilor, just to give it a little bit of history about what happened. This authorization of this item was already approved previously on the previous fiscal year. We need to reboard it because it's a different fiscal year at this time, and that's why we brought it up as an old business and not as a new item. So this is not a new bill that it was forgotten. It's an old bill that haven't been paid yet. Councilors, any questions in regard to this old business? We already authorized this payment before.
Make a motion to suspend the rules, and I'll make a motion to reconsider.
Second.
All right, there is a motion to suspend the rule to reconsider, properly second. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, now we have this item as it we never took a vote. I entertain any motion at this point.
I'd like to make a motion, Council President, we approve this document.
Second.
There is a motion to approve item document 15824, properly second discussion. This is for the amount of $39,275. At this point, I'll call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council President. Thank
All right, we're going to, for, in terms of the consideration of another city employee that is here. I mean, McCarthy left? McCarthy left? I'm so sorry. All right, let's go back to the top of the agenda once McCarthy come in, and then we can deal with the old business. Item 41520, Madam Vice President, let's go to Ordinance Committee. Mr. Chair, from the Ordinance Committee, Councilor Plant.
Thank you. On document 37424, the motion was sent up to the full council with the recommendation to withdraw a child care parking at 105 Park Street and make that in the form of a motion.
There is a motion on the table, properly second discussion. I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 37424.
This item is for Lights on Lawrence Day, a DV Awareness Month, Domestic Violence Month, Awareness Month, October 3rd, 2024, from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Campanion Common, the flagpole area. This was sent up to the full council with a favorable recommendation, and make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
And this is the item 37424?
This is 40724.
Oh, sorry. Okay, 40724. There is a motion on the table, properly second discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 41724.
41724, the ordinance committee met with this document, which is to remove the handicap parking and complete the ordinance in Florence Ave. This was sent up to the full council to order a public hearing and to make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
There's a motion on the table, properly second discussion. I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 31924.
The ordinance committee met on this.
419, sorry.
I understood. Pink Bazaar by Lynn Neth, September 20th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the Campanion Common, but most specifically near the flagpole, near the fountain area. The ordinance committee sent this up to the full council with a favorable recommendation, and that's a motion.
There's a motion on the table, properly second discussion. I hear none, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Let's go back to the old business, councilors. We can entertain old business 39424 in case we can have a potential reconsideration for this item. Councilors, at this time, I'll entertain any potential vote for reconsideration, if it's any. It is important to recognize the process as of how we work. We have this item posted on the agenda in case anybody from the previous side of this vote would like to express an opportunity to reconsider the vote for item 39424, which is the authorization to spend fund of them for the amount of $286,000 MVPC EPA revolving loan funds for the demolish of the Foreign Street garage or a building. It is a city-owned property. Any potential reconsideration?
How important is to bring this project to the table? Because I know Councilor Luzon and Councilor Santiago both know, but we asking to them to reconsideration for these two items because this property be in terrible condition and it's not safety for our community. And for taking in mind, it's not about the demolition any kind of property. We're talking about for one property be in terrible condition, we be apart the tool with the congresswoman around this kind of property, and it's not safety for our community, and especially with the neighbor be around.
All right, well, point well taken, Councilor Reyes. At this point, we have, it's up to the councilors to reconsider on the councilors on the Pavilion side that vote on that night or at any other potential meetings. Councilors, at this point, if it is no reconsideration, I'll move forward. If it is a reconsideration, please, this is the time. All right, we're going back to the top of the agenda. There was no reconsideration for the item 39424. So we already entertained personnel committee reports. There is no public safety report. There is no committee of the whole report. And going on top of the agenda, item the old business, item 14019, which is the handicap parking on 9 Saratoga Street. It is asking, this item, it is requesting to be relocated, and Officer Abel Cano put this on the agenda. So at this point, I will send this item to the ordinance committee to be reevaluated again. Item 29123, which is resident parking on Walnut Street, Hector Rodriguez and other Walnut Street resident. Request for the expansion of these measure that we took back then in 2023. This is going to be sent to the ordinance committee to be evaluated. Item 158-2024, appropriation transfer of, and now, councilors, any table matters that
Council
we would
President.
like to discuss?
Council President.
Council Vice President Infante?
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to untable item 389-18, Department Heads Quarterly Report, that was brought to us by then Councilor Payano and former Council President yourself.
Yes.
Motion to untable.
So there's a motion to untable this item, which is that period report. So it could be bi-weekly, I mean, it could be 3 month or 6 month. Properly second discussions, Councilor.
Discussion.
So, I mean, let's untable first. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Councilor Vice President Infante?
Thank you. I would like to make a formal motion to send correspondence to all the department heads that's supposed to be sending this quarterly report. We've been getting 1, 2, 3, sometimes none, when they're supposed to be doing this. So I would like to make that as a formal motion.
Councilor,
Second.
there is a motion on the table. Let's send this, I think that the intention is to send correspondence to the administration, to the mayor's office, because the last time that we received those, or the majority of them altogether, it was because the chief of staff at the time, he took that task as a good and valid for the city council and as a compliance situation when it comes to the city charter and our ordinance. So I believe it should be directed to the mayor's office, including the chief of staff, so they can follow up with this.
So I
So that's
amend
something that-
my
that you're willing to
motion
do?
to send correspondence to the mayor's office, to the mayor and the mayor's chief of staff, to send a reminder to the department heads, and I would like to add that we include our specific charter language so they know that this is part of our rules, our laws.
Any questions, Councilor, on that correspondence? There is a second, by Councilor Rosario,
Discussion.
right? Discussion, Councilor Prat.
It's a very milk, and no offense by this is a very milquetoast proposition, not a bad thing. We're just following up and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, so it's not a negative. After being around and watching this for some time, I'm going to be voting no again, so not because of any, I think it's important that people understand why you're voting no, like why I'm voting no on something, and so I'm going to explain why. It's not the biggest thing in the world by any stretch of the imagination. It is the law, and they should be doing it. Let me just put that right out front. I'm just not a fan of having to do this quarterly. I don't know how many times people have gotten things, haven't read it. Maybe the counselor who was doing that has read all of them, and that's fantastic. I think we should be doing it once a year. If I was king, it'd be once a year, and it'd be right before budget time, which is what they're doing anyway. They're coming to the budget committee. They're talking about all the stuff that they're doing. I think trying to maximize their time at that time to give us that information by ordinance should be the way to go. If they want to give us something more than frequently than that, God bless them. But I just think it's a better use of their time to give it to us that one time every year. So no offense to my colleagues who I'm going to know it's perfectly legitimate. It is the law. They should be adhering to it. But I'm not a fan of the law. That's my point. Thank you.
No, point well taken. Just to clarify from what you're saying, so you're voting no on the correspondence that is going to be sent to the mayor. That's what you're saying. All right. So, no, I understand. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're saying is, hey, mayor, comply with the law.
I get it.
Council President.
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. I do want to put out there, if any other counselors feel the same, I invite them to put something on the agenda so we can make the change to the law. But right now, that is our law, so I would like to send correspondence.
I mean, it is by, yeah, that's understood. Point well taken, Councilor Vice President. Councilors, any other questions in regarding to the correspondence to be sent to the mayor's office, including the chief of staff, to take on this task and be able to send specific reports as the period established on the law. Some departments there is every 6 months, some departments are every 3 months, and so far so on. Councilors, any questions on that? At this time, I'll call the question. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Roll call, please.
On the roll call, Councilor Levy?
Yes.
Councilor LaPlante?
No.
Councilor Luzon?
Yes.
Councilor Del Rosario?
Yes.
Councilor Santiago?
Yes.
Councilor Marmol?
Yes.
Councilor Reyes?
Yes.
Council Vice President Infante?
Yes.
Council President Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Councilors, any other table matters that we choose to discuss today? All right, and we're moving on to new business. Councilor Levy.
Yes, I would like to get item 45124 that was submitted as the late fire to complete the appointment of Abigail Romero to the licensing commission and certify Romero Brian Peña and
Councilors, this is part of new business. I will get to that point. Yep. I'll get to that point, yes. So let's go back to top of the agenda with new business, item 42724, YWCA Halloween events with Hearthside, October 18, 2024. This is going to be referred to the ordinance committee. Item 42824, acceptance of settlement, recordable easement and layout alternations plans for Ansbury Street. This is going to be referred to the ordinance and housing. Item 42924, the new ordinance in compliance with Mass General Law 40A, Section 3A, allowing multifamilies as of right. The MBTA Communities Act, this is going to be referred to the ordinance committee. Item 43024, childcare parking, 140 East Haverhill. This is going to be referred to the ordinance committee. Item 43124, remove of the 15-minute parking signs, delete ordinance of 38 Avon Street. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 42224, resident parking on Lincoln Court. This is going to be referred to the ordinance committee. Item 43324, a stop sign on Crescent Street, corner of Walnut. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 42424, resident parking only in Josephine Avenue. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 43524, one-way Josephine Avenue. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 43624, handicap parking, 303 Prosper Street. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 43824, childcare parking, and 215 Prosper Street. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 43924, childcare parking, 220 Sunrise Street. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 44024, childcare parking. This is 6 Knox Street. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 44124, four-way stop sign, Lowell Street and corner of Milton. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 44424, authorization to spend $580,909.09 FEMA assistance to the firefighter grant for new truck. This is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 44324, appropriation transfer of $300,000 from the stabilization reserve fund to the Special Project Act fire pump truck. This is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. 44424, authorization to spend $25,600 emergency performance grant. This is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 44524, appropriation transfer of $269,321 from the stabilization reserve fund to the library general fund operating accounts. This is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 44424, handicap parking at 76 Eamon Street. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 44724, status of maintenance of History Rawlings School, clock tower. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 44424, square dedication to Dominic Martes. This is going to the ordinance committee. 44924, no parking at Bradford Street and Ansbury Street from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. This is going to the All right, this item is going to be referred to the ordinance committee. Item 45024, food truck business lounge on October 6, 2024 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Union Square Park. This is going to the ordinance committee. Item 45124, confirm the appointment of Abigail Romero to the Licenses Commission for the 6-year term, expire on 5/31/2030, late file. Councilors, for this, we're gonna need 7 votes to add it to the agenda and subsequently refer to the personnel committee. So, councilors, I entertain a motion
Motion.
to add this to the agenda.
Motion to add 451-24 to the city council agenda.
Second.
There's a motion on the table, properly second. Any questions? At this point, I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. So now this item will be referred to the personnel committee. So at this point, councilors are gonna entertain potential dates for the subcommittee meetings. So Budget and Finance Committee,
Wednesday, the 25th at 7 PM.
Ordinance,
Tuesday, 24th, 7 PM.
Personnel.
Personnel,
Personnel, we're gonna do Wednesday, the 25th at 6:30 PM.
Safety,
I do have one for the ad hoc committee, for the school committee. We would like to meet October 1st at 5:30 before the city council meeting.
okay. Safety? Economic Development? Housing? All right, there's no items. Councilors, at this time, if it's nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion on the table, properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much. That's the time.
That's good. I'm so surprised.
Before 9:30.
Yeah, I was especially those.
Is it possible to, hi, if I want to address the